All right, so thank you for joining me for part two. So you're going to have to watch part one if you haven't already, because you won't know what I'm talking about in part two unless you first watch part one. But let me clear up some things because I listened to part one and I'm not sure if I made it clear. I think it might have been a little confusing. I did mention around 19 minutes that we were all created as babies. Adam and Eve were not, they were created as teenagers. So with the exception of Adam and Eve, we all were babies. And then, Jesus was telling me that we all started as babies. When I say we all, I mean with the exception of Adam and Eve, of course. And so we got to keep that same humility. And then I think at around 21, 22 minutes, I mentioned that I was standing at the six, and six represents man, but we're getting ready to go into the Sabbath. And that's the 1,000-year reign of Yeshua. And I said he's going to be resting. Well, he's going to be reigning, and we're going to be resting, which represents the Sabbath. That's why I said that's the Sabbath. But I'm going to tackle that. If I can get to that in this video, I will. If not, I would do that. I would tackle that part in another video. But like I said before, I'm writing everything down so that I can know to do videos about whatever it is that I'm touching on briefly, but not really explaining it thoroughly, because there's a lot of information that I learned, a lot of spiritual information. So, what I was talking about before the other video ended is I was talking about the earth and how she rejected my spirit. And I mentioned briefly that we were supposed to be buried in the ground when we died. Now we're not. Now we're in caskets and we are embalmed. But our bodies were supposed to go back and be recycled. So, but anyway, the earth rejected my spirit, and she threw me out into the galaxy somewhere, somewhere in the universe. I was in an expanse. I was in an area that it was black, but I saw a row of stars in front of me like this. And let me just explain that your personality when you're on earth is still going to be the same when you die. That's why the Lord sets up a standard on the earth, because once you take your last breath, that personality, that's you. That's not going anywhere. You are who you are. He sets up a standard on the earth so you can meet the standard before you die. You either meet that standard or you exceed it. But once you go underneath that standard, that's a problem. Well, let me just explain the soul. I have other videos that I've done, so be sure to watch the other videos. I've done a video on the difference between the spirit, the soul, and the body. Your soul is made up of three parts. It's your mind, your willpower, and your emotions. So whenever you're in this physical world, your mind, willpower, and your emotions is attached to your body. But when you die, your mind, your willpower, and your emotions become attached to your spirit. Now, really, there's no such thing as death when your body gets recycled, but it's really not being recycled because we're not putting our bodies back into the ground. So, I mean, when you die, you're supposed to be recycled, but that's not what's happening. The things that are natural are not being done. So the God of heaven, as the world calls him, his name is Yah. He is a God of natural things. If it's natural, it's of Yah. If it's not natural, it is not of him. So what the world is doing is we're doing things that are not natural. And all that does is pulls us away from him because he represents what's natural. So being embalmed, caskets, that's not natural. Naturally, your body's supposed to be back in the ground. But anyway, the earth, per the covenant that she has with Yah, she rejects my spirit. My spirit goes into this, and I didn't see any planets. I did not see one planet. But and one thing I want to just say briefly is um, every time someone tells you something, you always pray about it. Everything that I'm telling you, pray about it. Don't just take my word for it, and don't just believe me just because. I want you to pray about everything that I'm telling you, and not just me, but pray about everything that the preacher says to you. If you're your pastor, if you're in church, if you go to church, pray about that. Pray about the things you hear on YouTube. Pray about everything. And just because, and let me just say this also, just because someone says something that you don't like does not mean it's not true. It means that it does not, you just don't like it. But pray that you can accept the truth. That way, um, whenever somebody's telling you the truth, you can accept it, because the Lord said, worship me in spirit and in truth. And that's a part of the way you have to worship him. So even if somebody says something that you don't like and it hurts your feelings, you got to be open to the truth. The truth does hurt, but the truth is coming back into the earth, because the truth is Yeshua's foundation. So that's what he's going to stand on. He stands on the truth. And the truth is going to come from different directions. So on Judgment Day, you can't say, I didn't know. The truth is coming for you to know. You just have to open up your heart and mind to receive it. Because anybody that denies the truth is in rebellion against Yah and against Yeshua, because they stand on truth. And the Bible says that the Father and Son are one. There's no separation, no division between them. And when Yeshua walked on the earth, he was fully supported by Yah the Father. And that's who he prayed to when he was here upon this earth. But so anyway, whenever and I think in the Bible somewhere, let me find the scripture, but Yeshua does say that there is one greater than I. Why would he say that if it's not true? He's talking about the Father, but they work together as one. So there's no separation, no division. You can't support Jesus, Yeshua. You can't support him and not support the Father. They're one. So if you take one, you need to accept both. You can't have one without the other. They don't work like that. And you can't have the Father and not accept Yeshua, because they're one. So you can't have the God and not have Jesus, his son, because they work together as one. And I will explain to you how it is possible for Yah, a God, to create a child up on this earth with a woman. I will explain that to you. And I will also explain to you how the fallen angels were able to do the same thing. If you understand that the seed of a man is spiritual, you can understand how these spiritual men were able to put their spiritual seed into a woman, and the woman gives the body. The vagina of a woman is a portal from one dimension into another. So that's why in the Bible it does not tell you that the fallen angel women mated with men and had children, because part of the law in this physical world, and I'll explain this, I'm getting ahead of myself. Part of the law, one of the laws is part of that is, in order for you to be born upon this earth, you have to go through a human woman. But what they're doing, and that's the natural way, and what they're doing now, so that you don't go through the portal of a woman, what they're doing is they're creating babies in incubators. That's not natural. Everything that's not natural is going against the Father. It's just going against Yahuwah, the Creator. So let me just scale back. So the earth, she's rejecting me. I'm looking out and I'm seeing it's black. I didn't see any planets, but I did see a row of stars here. Now I was under the impression that these stars are actually talking to each other. So I'm facing the stars, and they're all shining. They're different sizes, but they're communicating with each other. And I don't remember if they were talking about me, like why am I out there? I don't remember if I was their conversation or not. But I knew that they were communicating with each other, because stars are alive. If they were not alive, they would not be able to shine. You have to have energy to do that. So, I'm going to do a video about the Father, because I kept asking him where he came from. Lord, where did you come from? Do you have parents? The Lord did reveal that to me in this dream, and I will explain that to you probably in another video, because that's going to be kind of a long process. Not a long process, but I don't want to get completely off topic, because I feel like I kind of already have. But just remember this, we're all made up of energy. So just remember that. But anyway, I'll do a video about where God came from. So here we are, me and these stars, I'm out in the expanse somewhere, and I'm fine though, because I'm feeling the love of God. I feel his love. I feel, like it's almost like somebody wrapped me in a heating blanket of love. I feel amazing. Like I've been massaged with love, because he's omnipresent. So his presence can be felt everywhere in the universe. So I'm feeling his presence and I'm feeling love, and I'm great. I'm fine. And now I'm afraid of heights. Like being up that high off the earth would have terrified me. But no, I'm feeling love, I'm feeling peace, and I'm fine. So the earth is behind me, like diagonal behind me, but I'm able to see all the way around me, 360 degrees. I can see all the way around me, but I'm focused on this row of stars. And one of the reasons I say that your personality remains the same, which is why you have to meet that standard before you die, because I've always loved the stars. I've always loved to look at the beauty of the stars, because the Lord, he basically shows off and says, look what I can do. Look at this. Look, when we look at the world, we should be in awe of the glory and the beauty of the creator. And so one of the things that always kept me in awe was the stars. So I'm not surprised that I was fixated on the stars and the beauty of the stars, and the little ones and the big ones. But what, and so let me just say this before I talk about the earth. Um, I'm aware that there are two kingdoms, and I'm supposed to go into one of these kingdoms. So somebody from, if I were going to heaven, somebody from heaven, an angel would come and get me, because you have to be invited into heaven. There has to be an invitation. You just can't show up. Heaven is a mystery. So to get there, you have to be invited. You have to be escorted into heaven. And it's like they roll out the red carpet. They're throwing a party that you arrived. Why? Because not there's so many more people that go to hell than heaven. So when people do finally get to heaven, it's like, wow, look, we got somebody else, as opposed to people constantly going to hell. So I'm waiting on the angel to come and get me and escort me, but nobody is showing up. I'm just in the expanse, and I'm okay because I'm feeling the love of the Lord. He's omnipresent. So what took my focus off of the stars, and what made me realize that something is going on, is behind me there's energy, there's movement. And so when I well, and I don't want to say that I turned around, because I didn't, but for the sake of this video, I will say that I looked behind me, but I was able to see behind me automatically. But I'm looking, and behind me is the earth, right? There is this little, first it started off like a little pin size black mark, and the mark begins to grow, and it's a circular thing, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and it's like this black portal. And what it looked to me like was like a washing machine. You know how like a washing machine is washing and the water is sloshing back and forth? This portal was like, I don't know if it was talking to me. I don't remember like everything. I do remember though, I felt like it was calling me. I feel like somehow it was calling me, and I don't know if it was calling my name, or if, I don't know exactly. I don't remember. All I know is I feel like it's magnetically pulling me into it, and it's gotten bigger. And I had no control over my body. So what I mean is I had no power, none. I couldn't even really say no. It's like I had nothing to hold on to. This thing is calling me. Now, there's some things I do not want to say in this dream. Um, about the dream. There's some things I just don't want to say, because I feel like there are already arguments about certain things, and I don't want to feel like I'm making it worse. But again, the truth hurts. So I'm going to say it. I'm not going to say everything that I learned. I'm not going to, even in subsequent videos, I'm not telling everything, because some things I just feel like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like maybe people aren't ready to hear it. So I'm not going to say everything. And I was debating on whether or not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I looked at the earth, people debate whether it's flat or whether it's round. I saw an earth that was flat. It was not round, and it was shaped like a body. So it's like a woman, but it's the earth. But the earth is a representation of a female, because in this physical world, one of the laws that Yah made is there has to be a woman for reproduction, a female version. There has to be a female for reproduction, right? The earth is a she. because she is the mother of humanity, because that's where humanity began. And when I looked at the earth, and I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to her. The only thing I'm really paying the most attention to is this thing, this portal thing that's calling me and magnetically pulling me into it. But I will say the earth looked flat. A lot of the mountains that are on this earth, if we were to unearth these mountains, what we would find is these huge, gigantic Nephilim bones. These are burial grounds for a lot of these Nephilim beasts that were here. Um, gonna say that I wasn't gonna say that before. I guess I'll go ahead and say it. And I've heard that the Smithsonian, this is all alleged, that the Smithsonian houses like some of these bones and things. If you Google it, you'll see these huge gigantic bones. I'll talk about how it's possible that the fallen angels could reproduce with women. But the earth was a female. The earth is a woman. She has a womb, and I knew, and I briefly knew this. I wasn't so focused on her, but I knew that the earth has a womb. And when the Lord took dirt to form Adam, and He formed him, so He took dirt and He took water and formed clay, and He sculpted the body of a man. And that's why we're made up of what, 70% water, because he used dirt and water and formed the body of a man. Why did he use dirt? He used dirt because, and that's why we go back into dirt. That's where we came from. Why did he use dirt? He used dirt because that is proof that we originated from the earth, because we look like the earth. And our hair looks like the trees. So um our hair is like a plant. It grows up toward the sun because it gets watered and it gets sunlight. And look at the trees. The trees have afros. So the original people of the earth, and this is one of the reasons I blotted my face out, because of my job. I don't work around a whole lot of melanated people. So the last thing I want somebody doing is saying I'm race baiting. But when the Lord took dirt, what do you think He used? He used black dirt. And black dirt is the richest dirt you're going to find. It's rich. And he took this dirt out of the womb of the earth. And where is the womb located? It's in Africa. The womb of the earth is Africa. That's the motherland. That's where humanity originated. And so a lot of people believe that Jesus, Yeshua, is white. But if Adam and Eve started off black, how did all the Hebrew Israelites become white? What happened is, this is a form of idol worship. They made the white the white people of the past made Yeshua in their image. Why? Because it's a form of idol worship. They were worshiping their whiteness. It had nothing to do with Yeshua. They could care less about Yeshua. It's because if they cared about Yeshua, they would be okay with worshiping him in his truth. They never would have changed him. It's about creating a God in their likeness, in their image. So what they're worshiping is his whiteness. Because if they're not worshiping his whiteness, they'd be okay with him being who he really is. I've never seen a movie where Adam and Eve were black. Even science, I believe science now has determined that Adam and Eve came from Africa and that Adam and Eve are black. But no Hollywood movie depicts that. I don't know of a Hollywood movie that depicts Adam and Eve as black, when at once the entire earth was black. And us being taken from the earth is just proof that we originated from here. Um, and I'll talk about the different bloodlines. Why the Lord tells the real Hebrew Israelites, not to mix, is because we got more than one bloodline on this earth, and I'll talk about that in another video. Um, but anyway, so the earth is like a woman, right? She has a womb, and her her womb is the continent of Africa, and her heart is Israel. And so here I am above the earth. Now, I'm not really focused too much on the earth. I'm focused on this thing that's opened up in the earth, and now it's calling me into it. I had no control. I could not fight. It's like you just have to do what it says. And so this thing is a portal. It's a black, it gotten pretty big, and it's a black portal that looked like a washing machine inside. And my spirit is going into this thing, which is the same thing that happened with the fallen angels. And whenever they were thrown out of heaven, I'm sorry, I keep saying I'll tackle it in another video, but I can only do 30 minutes at a time, unfortunately, with my computer. So whenever I went into this portal, what happened is Yah removed himself from me. And this portal was hell. I didn't know it at the time. Because when I got in this portal, when I was in this portal, when I just gone into it, that's when Yeshua was telling me, this is you, look where you are. And I'd gone into this portal already. I didn't see myself go into it. I thank the Lord, because that was a scary thing, but I didn't see myself go in there. I just knew I had gone in there. And now Yeshua was telling me, look, there you are, you're in this place, which was hell. When I first got in there, I looked above me and around me, and all I saw was blackness. But that's so ironic, because the part of me standing in front of the outer darkness, that part of me looked up and actually saw a cliff with a little bit of dirt and grass. But the part of me inside the circle didn't see that. All I saw around me was black, was total blackness. Now, when the Lord removed himself from me, let me explain that for just a moment. The Lord is every good thing. Every good thing is Yah, right? And I'm going to explain more about Yeshua. And I probably will get to him in the next video. But Yah, the Father, and Yeshua is every good thing too. So they're both every good thing. You find good within them, but Yah is the creator. The Father, he is the creator. So he was explaining, because I wanted to know his personality, and he was telling me that I'm every good thing. But whenever I went into this portal, he removed himself from me. So he removed every good thing away from me. And that's why I looked the way I looked when I went in there. I didn't look like I look now, because some of the things that I represent now are his gift to me. But when he removes himself from me, then he's removing the good from me. So when I went into this portal, all I experienced was nothing but agony and turmoil. Let me also mention this. Christianity taught me that whenever the Lord said, let us make man in our image, he was talking to Jesus and the Holy Spirit. That's not true. This dream revealed to me that Yah was talking to the earth. Because you look like your mother, you look like your father, right? We look like her, and we're made in his image. He said, let us make man in our image. You have to have a woman in this physical world. You do not have to have a woman in the spiritual world. The Lord creates spirits on his own. You have to have a woman in the physical, though, because she gives the body. The man, okay, the man's, his seed is spiritual. The woman represents the physical world, the man represents the spiritual world. The spiritual world came first, the man came first. The man always comes first because he has the seed. And so when the Lord was ready to create humanity, he had to create the man first. So Adam was created first, but Adam had to have a place to put his seed. So the Lord created Eve as a way for Adam, as a place for him to put his seed, because he's going to reproduce through her. And there was like, I remember when I was growing up, I heard someone say that Lilith, there's some type of doctrine with Lilith and Adam, that Lilith and Adam created Cain. First of all, that is impossible. Lilith is a fallen angel, and she is a spiritual being, and the fallen angel men are spiritual beings. A spiritual female can never create a physical being on this planet, because she does not have a body. So you have to have a woman. That's why the fallen angels were creating children with the women, and the Bible talks about that. How is that possible? It's possible because the seed of a man is spiritual. These fallen angels were spiritual beings. All they have to do is take their seed and put it into the womb of a woman, and the woman will give the seed a body. And through her, she represents the physical. Through her, the child is born into the physical world. So your spirit, the spiritual part of you comes from your father, and the physical part comes from your mother. I won't speak too much about this anymore, because I do have a video that goes into more depth about it. But that's how it is possible for a spiritual male to reproduce a child with a physical female, because he is spiritual being, his seed is spiritual. The man's seed is spiritual. So that's how we have the physical and the spiritual part within us. One comes from mom, the other one comes from dad. So So anyway, I'm in this place, and now I'm going to talk about my experience. I have 5 minutes. I'm going to talk about my experience in hell. So the Lord, like I said, okay, I'm sorry. Let me just mention this real quick and then I'll go to my experience in hell. The part of me standing in front of the outer darkness is hearing what the Lord is telling me, but he's saying things over and over and over again, and I'm aware he's saying one thing in particular over and over and over again. But while he's still speaking to me, I'm aware of what's going on with myself inside that circle. So I never lost focus. One of the things he said to me over and over and over again, he told me he was absolute. He did say that, and then he also said, and I'll explain that in the video when I mentioned the fallen angels. He's absolute. So, well, I guess I'll explain it briefly right now, but I don't want to run out of time. The Lord is absolute. There's no embellishments. There's no little white lies, because some people think if you put white in front of it, that makes it okay. No, there's no white lies. There's no embellishments. There's no fibs. With the Lord, it is or it is not. In America, we have a habit of saying that we have a habit of saying, like, for instance, if it's like two, because this is my experience, if it's like 2:58, we might go ahead and say it's 3 o'clock. If somebody asks what time it is, it could be 2:58. We'll say 3 o'clock. That's what happened to me. Somebody asked me what time it was. I said it was 3 o'clock, and it wasn't. It was 2:58. And when I said 3 o'clock, the Lord, it's like somebody scratched a chalkboard within me, because I felt like like I knew that the Lord he was chastising me. And I went into prayer because I wanted to know what happened. And the Lord said, "You were asking about me being absolute. And that's what it means for me to be absolute. You said it was 2:58. I mean, you said it was 3 o'clock, but it's 2:58. You just lied." And in America, that's okay for us to tell a little white lie, fibs. No, the Lord is absolute. Is it 3 o'clock or is it not 3 o'clock? There's no such thing as he there's no in between with him. He is, or it is, or it isn't. He's absolute. And so Yeshua is the mediator between us and God, because God is absolute. That's why in the Old Testament, he literally opened up the ground and Hebrew Israelites went on into hell, because he's absolute, right? Um, but the Bible even speaks about Yeshua, the Son, being the mediator between God and man. So anyway, he told me that he was absolute. He told me that a couple of times. One thing that he kept saying over and over and over again is, they underestimate how holy I am. They underestimate how holy I am. At the same time he's saying this, I'm observing myself. I'm walking around in this circle. As when I went through the portal, one of the first things I thought was, where am I? I was confused about where I was. I felt like I was in some type of cave, but I couldn't see beyond this blackness, the part of me that's inside the circle that was walking around. So you have to, well, I won't say you have to, but I had to walk around in this circle over and over and over again. Me and all of these people, I could not stop. I had no control over my body. I could not rest. There are some words that are on the earth that are not in hell. And one of those words is rest. No such thing. You can't find it because it's not there. Relief, not there. You can't find it because it's not there. There are words in hell that are coming up on this earth, like the concept of non-binary or whatever. That concept is here up on the earth, but it didn't originate here, because the Lord gave us male or female. It came from hell. That's the doctrine of hell. Doctrines are being brought from hell upon the earth. That's why there's so many different doctrine, because some of them have come from hell. But anyway, I'm looking at the clock and I'm nearing 30 minutes again for part two. I'm going to go ahead and do a part three and probably stop there. I'm going to go ahead and finish the hell portion, and then I will explain some of the other things in subsequent videos that I learned about the spiritual world. So go ahead and look for part three.